And welcome to Craig's Gun Channel's Random Shots. As always, this is my name's Craig. I'm Craig's Gun Channel. This is Evan. And this is the Random Shots episode. Basically, this is where we talk about anything that's 2A related, conspiracy theories, just political talk, kind of just whatever floats our boat. I mean, so
that's right. That's right.
And as always, we appreciate your comments. So if you have any comments or anything that you want to provide, let us know. We'll try to incorporate them in the show as we go.
Absolutely.
Sometimes just due to timing, things like that, we sometimes we don't even see them until it's too late. But we'll try to incorporate that in there. If you have any comments or anything like that, or things you want us to talk about or to think about, maybe for a different show or an upcoming show, make sure you let us know. As always, we're trying to grow our audience, so we would appreciate if you like the program or like the episode, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified of new content as we release it. And I guess we'll go ahead and go from there.
Let's do it.
Okay. So first of all, last week, that was the special episode. I had come down and had the two little lines on the little test, and I wasn't pregnant.
You were pregnant?
Yeah.
Nice.
So just wanted to make sure that, I didn't get, Evan pregnant. So we made sure that he wasn't here. So
this is going south quick.
It is.
All right, pick us up.
Anything we want to talk about.
That's
remember?
true. That's true.
So anyway, one of the things I talked about last week was the potential for an upcoming ammo shortage. Had a lot of comments that have been coming through on that, and a lot of people have wisely pointed out that really the ammo shortage never really stopped. There was a little bit of a lull in demand, so basically supply kind of caught up a little bit. So when you go and look at your shelves, it's like, oh, there's stuff there. Yeah. A lot of people have this idea. It's like, oh, everything's caught up, everything's back to normal. I'll wait for prices to come down. And I was trying to let people know that it isn't really that way. There's actually the supply has caught up with current demand because demand has went down. Part of it is it's the winter time. People aren't out there shooting as much. I know we haven't been. And so stuff was built up a little bit. However, there's a bunch of things going on, and I pointed out some of those, and I just wanted to point out some more. So I got some additional information, and this is more information on the latest Ukraine package as far as stuff that's being sent to Ukraine. So it's additional munitions. So some of it's Patriot air defense systems, additional ammunitions for high mobility artillery rocket systems.
Yeah, I didn't see any of those on the shelf last time I was at my favorite.
They were a little short. I wanted to get one of those for myself. 155 and 105 millimeter artillery rounds, 120 millimeter mortar rounds, 25 millimeter ammunition, tube launched optically tracked wire guided missiles. We might know those better as just TOW missiles.
There you go.
Honestly, I didn't know those were still as much of a thing, but they're still useful, and so we're sending a bunch of those.
Ukraine's using them.
Yep. Approximately 400 grenade launchers and 200,000 rounds of ammunition for it. That's just
ding,
staggering.
ding, ding, ding.
11 tactical vehicles and recovery equipment, 61 heavy fuel tankers, 10 trucks, and 10 trailers to transport heavy equipment, testing and diagnostic equipment, spare parts and field equipment. And here's the part, though, that I want to make sure that you kind of focus in on. Also, an additional order for 23 million rounds of small arms ammunition. So that's going to be your 5.56 and 9 millimeter primarily. So that's another big chunk that's going to be taken out of the supply chain. So there again, shortages are going to start showing up more. And this is on top of over and above the 150 million rounds of small arms ammo already allocated from U.S. supplies and purchased for the Ukrainian forces. So just keep in mind, there's still a war going on. They're still needing to send an awful lot of stuff over there for it. So if you happen to see that box of whatever ammo that is on the shelf, and you've been thinking, I'll wait until the price comes down, you might want to just go ahead and pick that up. So.
Good advice. Good advice. We never really got back to pre-shortage pricing.
No.
I'm going to say that we are at least 25%. We came down to 25% higher than what it was on most of our normal rounds. 9 millimeter, 223, 5.56, 7.62. All that stuff was never actually got back down.
And some of it, I don't think it ever will, because supply chain, impacts. just inflation. Raw goods, metals and stuff have gotten more expensive. So
Right.
some of it's never going to come down all the way, but I think it's came down to about as low as it's going to go.
Would you venture to say that we are at the bottom of the price right now
Yes.
that we're going to see in the foreseeable future?
Yes, I would say that.
Go ahead and buy it up.
I would say if you see what you call, if you look at it and go, oh, that's cheaper and I've seen it for a while, buy it.
Buy it, yep.
So
the last line on this this printout you have here is staggering to me, and you didn't mention it. As of today, as of after April 4th, the Defense Department has gifted Ukraine $35.1 billion.
Yep.
So math, $80 billion to the Taliban, $35.1 billion to Ukraine.
Yep.
That's a sizable chunk of change.
That is not an insignificant amount.
And to back up what you said last week on your thing, that is going to have an impact not only on civilian ability to purchase ammunition, but how about the replenishment of our ability to defend our nation?
And that's actually, over and above the impact it's causing us being able to just buy ammo for ourselves, that is something that concerns me. We're talking years to replenish some of these, military supplies.
Yeah.
To bring them back up to peacetime levels.
Right.
So the world is getting to be a scarier and scarier place. We might want some of those 155 millimeter or 105 millimeter artillery rounds for our own use.
I want the Patriot missile. All right, good segment. My first segment of the day is Americans are living proof that defensive gun use saves lives. I got this from the president of the NRA, writes a weekly or a monthly journal, and this was something that I thought would speak to our audience. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of arguing and hyperbole being spewed out there about the should or should not Americans be able to own firearms. The Constitution be damned.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those things that's a hot button item that people get fired up about now. The truth of the matter is the media refuses to report on defensive use of firearms. This is something that is so rare for the media to do. It's almost as rare as using the words Cleveland Browns and the Super Bowl in the same sentence. It just doesn't happen, right? The anti-gun lobby and their legacy media propagandist allies would have you believe such cases are rare. For decades, they've tried to convince the public that defensive gun use, or DGU, by lawful people against criminals is rare. That many of the reported DGU cases were actually between criminals, that firearms are used more to commit crimes than to stop crimes, and that, in the words of PolitiFact, there is no conclusive evidence that defensive gun use reduces harm to people. So, writing in another side of this is writing in a congressional newspaper, The Hill, the founder of an anti-gun research outfit called GVpedia, never heard of them, even went so far as to call this simple truth that carrying a gun repels criminal attackers as part of a fire hose of falsehood. I've never heard that used before, but that's
a new one.
That's the hyperbole I'm talking about, right? President Biden echoes that. President Biden, that rotting bag of oatmeal, echoes that same narrative, referring to 9mm pistols. He said, "The idea of these high-caliber weapons is there's simply no rational basis for it in terms of thinking about self-protection." To somebody like Joe Biden, who will have 24-hour armed security guard for the rest of his life, the idea that any of us might need to have a gun to defend ourselves from violent criminals might indeed be hard to imagine. But it happens thousands of times every day across America. Pour a cup of coffee and enjoy the following. Here are some examples and some statistics. In all, he did a survey. So in all, he surveyed 54,244 individuals over the age of 18, including 16,708 gun owners. The results of that survey were released this summer. Here are some of its findings. Nearly one-third, or 32% of all U.S. adults over age 18 own a firearm. So one-third of Americans own firearms. Nearly one-third of those gun owners have used a firearm to defend themselves or their property. That's a big number.
That is a big number.
And that figure excludes military service, police work, or work as a security guard. What these numbers mean is that defensive gun happenings happen about 1.67 million times a year. That's amazing.
Yep.
So why don't we hear about this stuff?
Interesting. Why don't we?
We've hit on that many times.
Yep.
The media does not want to propagate any type of a story that goes against their narrative.
Nope, doesn't fit the narrative, so no need to report on that.
And another thing we've mentioned before, if it bleeds, it leads. So mainly because in these DGUs, the vast majority of the cases, 82% of them, nobody was shot, no one gets injured, and in fact, no shots were fired at all. Thus, the police never even hear about it. In other words, all it takes is a mere display or mention of a firearm to make assailants seek easier victims. According to the study, nearly 21 million Americans carry handguns in public, thanks to right-to-carry laws, and those laws undoubtedly save lives. About 3/4 of those 1.67 million DGUs per year occur outside the home. Actually giving some credence to the whole concealed carry movement. And despite President Biden's bluster about no rational basis, the fact is that nearly half of all gun owners, 48%, report owning ammunition magazines that hold more than 10 rounds.
No.
Except in California. I mean, California brought that number way down, but nearly 1 in 3 gun owners, 30%, have owned an AR-15 or similar rifle. Maybe the reason so many Americans choose such firearms for personal protection is because, as this largest ever survey found, more than half of all DGUs involved more than one assailant. So that actually, that's what we see in the videos of people getting attacked. It's not usually just one-on-one. It's a flash mob, or it's 5 or 6 thugs picking on 1 or 2 people.
Yeah,
so,
well, again, it's the gang mentality. A lot of times, there'll be these roving gangs of people committing crime. Yep.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yep.
So now the gun lobby, or the gun ban lobby, can call these findings a fire hose of falsehoods all they like. But the reality is that these figures all track closely with similar research done by the United States back 30 years, ranging from Gallup and Pew researchers. The 1995 study cited by the Congressional Research Service estimated 2.1 to 2.5 DGUs per year. In 1997 study commissioned by the National Institute of Justice put the number at 4.7 DGUs per year. Even a study ordered by the anti-gun Obama administration concluded that almost all national survey estimates indicate that defensive gun uses by victims are at least as common as offenses used by criminals, with estimates of annual uses ranging from about 500,000 to more than 3 million. So that's coming from Obama himself. So when you hear somebody parrot all the media's talking points, their lies about how guns cause crime and it's the gun's fault, set them straight with the truth. I've given you some facts right there. Surveys, history, evidence. Use it, and use it often.
And one thing I want to point out too is you mentioned defensive gun use, and you can't also discount the fact that if a criminal element they have a reasonable assumption that a potential target is likely armed,
right?
It might actually stop that target from ever becoming a target.
That's right.
So that's actually a defensive gun use with the person or the potential victim not even aware that a crime was about to occur.
Right.
So, there's some of that too, and you've also heard that thing too, where like a dog can sense fear, right?
That's right.
So if you're afraid of a dog, it will sense that, and it's more likely to attack.
Right.
Well, if you are uncomfortable in a situation,
and giving off body
language like that, criminals can read that.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you're someone who is a concealed carry person and you are carrying, generally speaking, you feel much more confident because you know you have
right.
the capability to take care of yourself. Your body language will reflect that.
Not to mention that if you're a concealed carry permit holder and you're carrying, you already have as part of your being this idea of situational awareness. Yep. You have that 60-foot circle around you that you're assessing all your threats within that 60. You're aware. If a criminal is eyeballing you as a potential target, they see you being aware, and then they see somebody with their face in their phone walking down, not paying attention. Yep. Who are they going to? They're going to choose the person that's not aware of their surroundings, and yep. It's easier prey.
They're going to hit the easy button.
That's right. Yep. That's right. So I think it's part of our Constitution already as concealed carry carriers that we already have that confidence and situational awareness in us. So yep. we greatly reduce our chances of victimhood.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
I would agree with that. Yep.
So all right. So my next segment kind of actually rides the coattails of my first segment here. I've got a handful of situations where DGUs were successful in deterring crime. First picture. In 2007, former cop and volunteer security worker Gene Assam saved the day at New Life Church in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Thousands of people were exiting from the Sunday Mass that day as the shooter opened fire. However, Assam ran toward the line of fire, killing the shooter and saving countless lives. Gun 2A, concealed carry is not just for men. This is a brave woman that took care of business on her own, yep. Saved countless lives at this church. Next one, Alton Noland of Moore, Oklahoma, was charged with first-degree murder in the gruesome beheading of a Vaughn Foods worker. I remember this story.
Yep.
His rampage was halted by Mark Vaughn, a reserve sheriff's deputy and the company's chief operating officer, who used his personal firearm to wound Nolan. I remember this story.
Yep.
I think it was a Muslim extremist up there.
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
In Garland, Texas, number 3, 2 gunmen opened fire outside of the Prophet Muhammad cartoon drawing contest in 2015. I remember this one too.
Yep.
A swift reaction by police and security at the event prevented all but the two attackers So the two attackers ate some bullets and everybody else went unscathed. Next one, in 2013, a shooter opened fire at Price Middle School in Atlanta, Georgia. However, after wounding only one student, the suspect was disarmed by an armed guard who was stationed at the school.
I just want to point out, there again, it's a school, and armed response at the school stopped.
There you go.
Potential.
But they're telling us now that that doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
That doesn't work. Yeah. History obviously does not count for these guys. Next one, number 5. An 18-year-old mother saved the life of herself and her baby in Blanchard, Oklahoma. There was a knife-wielding intruder that was attempting to enter Sarah McKinley's mobile home shortly after her husband died of lung cancer in 2012. After breaking in, McKinley fired, killing one suspect and scaring the other intruder off. That's a good story.
Yep.
Number 6, a 71-year-old man saved the lives of many at an internet cafe in Florida in 2012. When robbers entered the cafe with weapons, Samuel Williams pulled out his gun and scared off the suspects. That is a BDU that probably would not have been put in the news, right? Because there's
no shots.
No shots.
Yep.
But saved countless lives.
Yep.
A 69-year-old grandmother protected herself in her home in Alabama in 2010. After hearing a burglar break into her house, Ethel Jones fired 3 shots, wounding and scaring off an intruder who was later arrested by the police. I'm seeing a lot of old folks, some women. I mean, these are some good stories.
Yep.
And that's who who needs defended the most.
Yes, because the firearm, suddenly it equalizes that playing field.
You're not an old decrepit human. You're somebody that can fight back and defend yourself.
Yep.
2012, a 14-year-old boy saved himself and his younger siblings after an armed intruder entered their home. After breaking into their home and pointing a gun at the 14, 12, and 8-year-olds, the 14-year-old fired, placing the intruder in the hospital and saving his family. Good story for a young kid.
Yep.
That's a good parenting right there. So that dude had definitely been coached by his dad or his mom, probably been to some classes, had the confidence to go up against the bad guy.
Yep.
Next story, a pregnant mother of 2 saved herself and her children after 2 intruders entered her home in Ashtabula, Ohio. Shout out to Ohio. After refusing to let the 2 intruders in, they broke down her back door. As they proceeded up her stairs, she shot at them, hitting one intruder and scaring both of them off until police arrived. Next one, would-be robber was shot in 2006 by an employee at the Media Madhouse in Indiana. After the suspect entered the building holding a gun on an employee and demanding money, a second employee jumped into action and shot the suspect, saving both employees and the customers.
Good deal.
And the last one, and there are countless more, but these are some of the highlight ones. 72-year-old, another,
Yep.
It's not octarian, what's 7? I don't know. 72-year-old Jan Cooper saved her life and the life of her 85-year-old World War II veteran husband, who was confined to a wheelchair. In 2013, a man was breaking into the Cooper's Southern California home when the grandmother fired one shot from her .357 Magnum Smith & Wesson revolver, which scared the burglar off. Only thing that would have been better on that story is if she planted one right square in the middle of the center mass.
Yep.
But bottom line, and in a nutshell, there are countless, according to these surveys, millions of BGUs over any year that shows that actual guns do save lives.
Yep. And one thing I want to point out, because a lot of these, some of the dates were a little older.
Yep.
But these type of, defense uses of firearms, they occur every single day. These are just some of the more noteworthy that have been, that are findable. But we can kind of make a point if you guys want, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
We can, we probably won't do it, every show, but at least once a month we can maybe, throw some of those out because, we get a lot of the reports and things like that, just to show you that, that this is constant.
Yep.
So,
and you don't hear about it because the media does not want you to know it.
Right. And as soon as, a lot of times even, you might notice sometimes there'll be a self-defense with a firearm, but it doesn't look like self-defense at first. So it'll be all over the news. And then when it turns into self-defense,
it goes away.
It's gone.
Yep.
So,
want to shout out? You want to shout out to a couple people here?
Yeah. Let's do it.
We got Uncle Mike's in the house commenting there. How you doing, Uncle Mike? And then a new commenter. I haven't seen you yet. Welcome, beating NCP 93. Welcome to the show. Hope to see you back here. All right, what else you got there, Craig?
Okay, so since we are a gun channel, I thought we'd go ahead and actually bring in some new firearm stuff. And contrary to what people think, we don't always bash on the high points. So a new high point carbine has been released. It's the Model 3095. So some of you have already figured out their, the high point code on their naming convention for firearms. So you might have already figured out what this is. But it's breaking new ground by introducing the first ever carbine chambered for the 30 Super Carry defensive cartridge.
To be honest, I've never heard of that cartridge, but
yeah, the cartridge itself has only been around for a couple years. But the High Point 995, and we'll talk about the cartridge in a minute because you're probably not alone. There's probably a lot of people who haven't heard of that. The 995, it's interesting. The press release said 995, but the 3095, it's the same rifle. It's just different chamberings. Is the first rifle to accommodate the 30 Super Carry cartridge. It's 16.5-inch barrel, semi-auto action, 10-shot capacity in the magazine, skeletonized polymer stock, pistol grip. Show another picture here. Get a little bit better view of it there. Front post sight, rear peep sight, fully adjustable for windage and elevation. Picatinny rail atop the receiver and a rail below the handguard allows the shooter to accommodate their preferred optics or accessories, lights, lasers, whatever. 1/2 by 28 threaded barrel, manual safety. MSRP is $359. Used the street price is right around $300 for these things.
That's a high price, high point.
Well, actually, that's the normal price for the carbines. Actually, okay. We tend to maybe be a little harsh on high point sometimes. Keep in mind, we appreciate them for what they are. The carbines, though, they're actually really nice. They're fun rifles. So I like their rifles. But anyway, the .30 Super cartridge itself is loaded with a .312-inch projectile, so it's smaller than the popular 9mm, and it's and 380 ACP. And because of that reduced size, it's a little bit smaller around. You can put more rounds in a magazine. Now, usually with like a 10 round straight stick magazine, like what the high point carbines have, they could probably get 11 rounds in it, but I'm sure they've tweaked that a little bit because honestly, the 10 round magazine limit on the carbines is by design. So I'm sure they probably modified the magazine a little bit to make sure that it stayed at 10. Double stack magazines built to accommodate the 9mm Luger size cartridge usually can carry 2 more rounds of .30 Super carry in the same space, giving more rounds without needing more space. Single stack magazines would gain an extra round. Despite the size reduction, this .30 Super carry, now keep in mind, there again, ammo naming conventions are always confusing because there's been a .30 Super around for quite a while, but this is a .30 Super carry, so make sure if you have a firearm chambered for that, you're buying the right stuff. But it features a 100-grain projectile with a muzzle velocity of 1,250 feet per second, produces 347 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle.
Is it kind of a snub-nosed? Is that round a snub-nosed like a 9mm, or is it conical like a 223?
Well, it depends on it. It depends.
It can change out.
It can have both. So I think basically it's a little bit smaller than a 9mm, so that it's not as big a round, so they can put more in the magazine. The velocity is higher than a 9mm.
Okay.
So your actual energy is about the same. So it's a smaller, higher speed version of 9mm, and it's intended to be able to offer a little bit more capacity in 9mm size.
So speaking of capacity, our friend Beating NCP 93 has a question, or actually has a comment. He does not like the single stack 10 round mags. You got anything to say about that?
I agree with you.
We were just talking about that.
We were just talking about that. I like the high point carbine. I know that they made the 10 round magazine by design. It was on purpose. They did that so that the assault weapon ban and things like that it wouldn't get caught up in that, because usually those have a
the
magazine
owner
limit.
read the writing on the wall type of thing.
The owner, the designer, Tom Deeb at the time, he purposely designed it that way. The reality is it didn't matter, because now on any of these assault weapon ban bills that they put through, they usually list a bunch of stuff, and then they list a whole bunch of firearms by name.
And
the high point is usually almost always on there now by name. So the whole reason that they did that is kind of moot now.
Yep.
So it's in the world of the anti-gunners, it's just another scary black rifle.
That's right.
Right. But anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there. I think this is neat. Now here comes the flip side of that. 30 Super carry ammo. It's like hen's teeth. You just can't find it anywhere. So
it's funny you say that.
I'm sure it's out there in places. I mean, but it's hard to get. So back to the whole ammo thing.
You know what? I've never heard the saying hen's teeth. You just said it. And what does that say right there?
Oh, hen's teeth, huh?
I've never heard it in my life.
Really?
And today on this show, I've heard it twice.
You know,
never.
There are times I wonder where the rock is that you've lived under in your life. So anyway,
all right, go on.
So that's with the high point. Now, another one release that just was announced. So I mean, it's April, so let's announce a bunch of new stuff.
Right.
I mean, which is great. New stuff's always cool. We have the Henry Homesteader rifle that was released earlier, and we're hoping to be able to get out to the range actually this weekend for that, so we'll be able to get some content out.
Can't wait.
Hopefully next week. I'm really looking forward to getting out there. But Henry has kind of announced something else. So let's go ahead and pull up the picture here. It's the Henry Big Boy Revolver. So I just think this is cool because it's Old West style revolvers that kind of match the look and the overall just vibe
the brass
of their lever guns. So it's really cool. So to further expand beyond the lever action rifles and shotguns synonymous with the Henry name, the Henry Big Boy Revolver is a historic release that collectors will relish as an exceedingly rare opportunity to own the first bona fide handgun. Okay, this is a presser from
100%.
Henry.
Somebody spent a lot of time on that.
To own the first bona fide handgun made by the long gun manufacturer and perfect sidekick for owners of the Henry Big Boy rifle. Chambered in .357 Magnum, my favorite caliber, or .38 Special if you want to use the lower power stuff in it. The traditional double action revolver is available in 2 different grip configurations. The larger flared gunfighter style or the more compact rounded bird's head style. I prefer the gunfighter style myself. The Big Boy revolver borrows design cues from its rifle counterpart with deep and polished bluing on the medium-sized steel frame, 6-round quick-release cylinder, 4-inch barrel, grip panels cut from genuine American walnut, and a polished brass trigger guard that wraps all the way around the grip and up the back strap. Fixed notch rear side, interchangeable front blade sights with different heights to allow for some, some range adjustment. The windage is just going to be all on you.
Yep.
So it's double action, single action, the 4-inch barrel. The bird's head grip style comes in an overall length of 9 inches, where the gunfighter grip, because the grip sticks out a little bit farther, it's 9.5 inches. Around 34 or 35 ounces, depending on which version you get. Suggested retail price, okay, these aren't going to be cheap, but it's $928. I just think those are a really pretty looking gun.
They are.
So
Only thing that could have made it better is an octagon barrel. I really wanted to see an octagon
that
barrel.
Would have been nice, and it make it even more into the old Western vibe. But,
yes.
But overall, I'm pretty happy with those.
Very nice.
So, and in another release from Henry, of course, you're looking at that thinking, oh, a lever gun. That's weird from Henry. Okay.
Right, yeah.
And, okay, so the gun itself isn't necessarily the news. What's new is it's in a new cartridge called the 360 Buckhammer, developed in partnership with Remington Ammunition and optimized for use in lever action rifles. The 360 Buckhammer straight wall cartridge. So for those people living in states like Ohio where you have to have straight walled cartridges, this just gives you another option now. So now you got your 350 Legend or 360 Buckhammer. So it's higher velocity, more energy, and flatter trajectory than the competition for hunters for white-tailed deer. So basically, they just kind of upped the horsepower race on the 350 Legend. So, but there again, it's got the 2 rifles. There's the traditional wood look, or they've got more of a tactical polymer version. So whichever one you want. Suggested MSRP is $1,057 for the wood. And the lever action X model with the polymer is $1,091. So these aren't cheap, but they're a nice looking rifle.
They're good looking. I'd go with the wood furniture. I like that one.
I would too, especially with the lever gun. That's just the traditional look on it. I just think is really cool.
Yep.
So that's pretty much what we have with those.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Are we ready to do a little? I think we're ready for some rapid fire.
I think
is that right?
Are. Yep.
All right, guys. This is the segment that we do, kind of a gathering, if you will, of Twitters and little memes that come across that kind of pertain to what we've been talking about for the last couple weeks and even today. First off, all judges don't suck like RBG, Santamayor, or Keegan. This is a somewhat old news story, but deserves a shout out nonetheless. A U.S. judge in Ohio has fatally shot a gunman who critically wounded him in an ambush-style attack outside his courthouse. Judge Joseph Bruzzese Jr. was shot several times just after 8 a.m. local time in Steubenville on Monday morning. This is a story from back in August of 2017. I read you the headline, so it kind of sounded like it was happening like yesterday or today. But this guy deserves a shout out. That's some good self-defense right there.
Yep. Another there again. Good defensive use of a firearm.
There you go. Next, B, and now for a segment I like to call saying the quiet part out loud. You do realize if Democrats stopped shooting people, gun violence would drop by 90%. Is that not the truth? It's so true, and it's funny.
Yep, it's funny but true, or true, and that's what makes it funny. I'm not sure which way.
Either way. All right, we have recently highlighted how when good people don't speak up or defend against evil, and we've talked about this a couple times just off camera even, when we allow for the sole purpose of just getting along in the meantime, it has a 100% failure rate. These people are in it for a zero-sum game. It's a slippery slope. Stand up for what is right now, today, or face a larger beast in the future. So here's the slippery slope. I don't know if you can blow that up, Craig. It's hard to read. So you all remember in anything, any of the big political hot button items where your favorite liberal friend would be, you're overreacting. It's just...
Yeah,
it's just a marriage license.
No, that's just or conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it's just a conspiracy theory. Yeah. Well, you know what? Stand up for what's right. All right, next one, number 4. A survey was done by asking AR-15 owners why they owned them. I thought this was interesting. Let's look at the results. And then for those of you in the chat, tell me why you do. I've got my own reason here. So... the first reason, 70... I can't read that. So can you help me out on that? My eyes are bad.
It's like, let's see, going from the top?
Yeah.
So protect self, family, and property. Major reason, 65%. Minor reason, 26%. Or not a reason, 8%. It's fun to shoot. Major reason, 63. Minor, 27. Not a reason, 10. Target shooting. Major reason, 60%. Minor, 30. And not a reason at all, 10. In case law and order breaks down. Major reason, 42. Minor reason, 32. Not a reason, 26. I think people maybe need to rethink that one. But anyway, it's important to who I am as an American. 36% is the major reason why. 24% as a minor reason, and 40% is not a reason at all.
I think that one's skewed too. That's, I mean, Second Amendment, you can't get much more American than that.
Yeah, I would agree. Ease of customizing or modifying the rifle. Only 25% is the major reason. I find that a little low. 30% was a minor reason, and 45% was not a reason. Of course, I guess there's a lot of people that might buy one and never touch it. I can't leave them alone. I'm always
screwing around with
them. Potential for new laws restricting AR-15 sales. 22% was a major reason, 28% was a minor reason, and 49% was not a reason.
That's why I bought my second one.
Yeah, and I think that's actually one of the main reasons why new sales have surged on them is for that reason. So then hunting, 18% was a major reason, 30% was a minor reason, and 52% was not a reason.
What are you going to hunt with, I guess like coyotes or something like that?
Yeah, it's varmint hunting, something like that. Yeah. And there again, don't discount, like, you can put 350 Legend, that they have
AR style. That's true.
So... But generally speaking, when you think AR, you don't think primarily hunting rifle.
So the number one reason was protect self, family, and property, going back to the whole thing with DGUs.
Yep.
Can you guess, Craig, what my reasons for owning an AR is?
I would say it would be to protect self, family, and property, and in case law and order breaks down.
It's none your business. That's my reason.
So I walked straight into that one.
Oh, shoot. All right, next one, number 5. Mainstream media will not show you this gem. It does not fit their narrative. It crumbles their emotional propaganda. It shows the common sense evidence that an armed society is a polite society. If you could pop that one up there. Hat tip, Dom Luker, breaker of the narratives. Importance of location. Mass shooters select areas where victims are unable to protect themselves. Since at least 1950, more than 94% of large public shootings in the U.S. have happened in gun-free zone areas where ordinary people are not permitted to protect themselves. How about that?
Yeah, that's really weird because, you know, how could the criminal get there with their gun, because it's a gun-free zone?
That sign doesn't hold it. It's kind of like the proverbial restraining order for the guy that's beating his wife up. That little piece of paper does a real good job, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's, you know, it kind of just further proof that those are not gun-free zones. Those are designated victim zones.
That's right. Good call. All right, next one. Facts do not care about your feelings. Took that from Shapiro. Not the gun. Could it possibly be mental illness? Let's look at this one. Last four of the most recent, I'll put it that way, 4 of the most recent, I think out of like 7 or 8 mass shootings, 4 of them have been mentally ill individuals. When are we going to start talking about that?
And, we really need to. And not pictured here was the other person that they just arrested before. Luckily, it was caught before anything happened, but this was a person who was planning in Colorado, and they're the same type of thing. Now, I'm going to lean toward mental illness.
It is. Get bombastic, man. Go for it.
Well, it's just, these people, oh, hell, I'm going to get nailed for that one.
These people.
These people. What I mean is people that are suffering from identity disorders like this
do need compassion.
They do need compassion. Yep. Now, I'll be the first to admit that, I don't think people should be bashed or anything, because they shouldn't be. But you also have to recognize that these are people that are struggling. They're struggling with their identity. They're struggling with fitting in. They don't even feel comfortable with their own bodies, let alone how other people think about them. So instead of working to work with them, they come up with all these other things that they say is going to fix the problem. Well, it doesn't fix the problem.
That's right.
And then all we're doing is, in depending on where you go on this spectrum, all you're doing is you're pumping them full of hormones that your body was not designed for. So there's going to be repercussions. So people who are already maybe not stable, you're pushing them farther down that road of instability, and it's just. I'm
going to go out on a limb that it's not going to stay with these 5 incidences. I think this is going to be a growing.
It's a new trend.
It is. It's. I feel like it's their way of getting heard or attention.
Yes, and I would agree with that.
They
as well.
hate their life so much, and they don't have any desire to live, but they're going to take people with them.
Yep.
I just think this is something that we're going to see in the future.
Yep.
All right, my last one, ending on a happy note, a fun note. Some of you that have been around a while may recognize. Who wants to see Greta Thunberg with a beard and a mustache? Show of hands. You are welcome. Enjoy.
How dare you?
Oh, yes, there it is. All right, Craig, that's all I have for rapid fire. We are at 45 minutes right now. What do you want to do?
I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap it there.
Wrap it? Okay.
We've been, historically, we've been trying to narrow it down. This was originally supposed to be, our idea was a 30-minute show. I can't talk. Or can't stop talking, maybe would be the way to put it.
We both have trouble with rambling.
So, but I hope you enjoyed the content. As always, feel free to let us know any thoughts or anything you have, anything you might want to see. Let's see if we have any other things on here. Uncle Mike, I was waiting on any business.
He knows me. Beating NCP says, he mentioned what we talked about earlier off of camera about Washington State. Banning basically all guns.
Yeah,
right?
If you actually read that law, how it's written, it's going to essentially ban just about everything. The only thing that you'll be left with will be revolvers, top break shotguns, maybe some pump shotguns, but not all of them.
I think still their goal is to be
their goal is for all of them. Yes, I mean let's not kid ourselves. That's what that whole comment I made earlier about the high point carbine. It doesn't matter. There is no common sense gun legislation. They're just whatever steps they can make toward their goal of total disarmament. That is what their goal is. Every once in a while they'll slip up. They'll say something like, "Oh, well, we need to follow the model of New Zealand and Australia."
They'll say the
and then it's like, "Oh, you mean where they took everyone's gun?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, well, no. We're not saying you can't have them. We just should follow their model." Oops. Their model took their guns.
Oops.
So just know what you're dealing with. That is their ultimate goal. There is no compromise. So anything that you give is just something that you gave. They won't stop. I mean, because quite honestly, if I would think, you just name an item, whatever. If that would be it, if they would be done, they'd be satisfied. We'll say the pistol brace or whatever, and that would just be done. I could live with that, except
that's not where they
to be done would be all your guns are
I
gone.
think we need to start taking a more aggressive offensive use. Hey, I want silencers back for anybody that wants them. I want
the whole NFA should be repealed.
heck. Let's go with grenade. They should not have gotten as far as they've gotten today.
No,
our acquiescence and our letting them get away with that one little thing, like you said, pistol brace or name it. We give them one little step, but now they'll use any mass shooting or any tragedy in the news to elevate their actual true end goal, which is to eliminate guns from citizen use.
Yep. And I know we just said we were going to wrap it up, but I just want to make sure we put this out there. When they say things like assault weapons and just these one little things, if you actually look, and I encourage people, don't research this stuff. When they say they want to pass a law, pull the law up and read it, and then know what terms mean. When they say something like on there, it has a magazine of more than 10 rounds or the ability to accept one. There isn't a detachable magazine gun that's ever been made that hasn't then at some point had an extended or larger capacity magazine created. The 1911 45 7-round magazine, that's what it was originally designed for. They make a 50-round one for it. It looks totally stupid, but it's out there. So what that means is since it exists, as soon as a law like that would pass, the 1911 with your flat, flush-mounted 7-round magazine is actually banned because it has the capacity to take a larger capacity magazine.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. Words mean things, so see what the words are that they're saying and know.
They're throwing a broad fishing net. That net is the words they use matter.
The words they use matter. So with that, I guess I'll go ahead and try to quit talking now. As always, if you like the show, please hit the like button. We hope share us. Share with your friends. If you think we're the stupidest people around, I know I say this every time, but go ahead and share that also. I don't care. Just share. We're just trying to get the program out there, get the word out there. Subscribe if you want to continue to see things like this. Hit the notification bell. We're on all the other social media platforms as well: Patreon, YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Minds, Twitter, Instagram. I'll be honest, we don't post much on Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Facebook, all that kind of stuff. YouTube has been on a tear kind of lately about having links in videos. So I'm pretty much removing the links in our videos now. So just go onto the interwebs and just do a search for Craig's Gun Channel and all kinds of stuff pops up.
I would like to invite our OG original gangsters beating NCP 93 and Uncle Mike to come back next Thursday, and we'll do it all over again. We'll see you next week.
Good. So, as always, until next time, stay safe.